Okay, I think I'll do this a little bit in a different order. I'll do my high and my act of kindness first before I talk about my low because this really is important. For starters, my high is the fact that I did get to see my folks last night. My mom a little bit later than normal because normally she works on Wednesdays, but considering what I'm about to talk about, I figured it was the right thing to do to wait until, she got back home. So I did. And that was my act of kindness as well. That was also my act of kindness, waiting for my mom to get home before I went home. Now, full disclosure, because my low is pretty, if it's not already obvious, my low involves what's transpired in the last couple of days. So before I begin, good morning and happy Thursday, everyone. Before I get into this, I just want to preface this by saying normally I don't talk about these sorts of things. I don't. Whenever something, for lack of a better word, majorly tragic happens, I try not to talk about that here because, you don't need to hear from one more person. You don't. If you're going to see, everything you see is practically like on the news or word of mouth or, he said, she said, whatever. And normally I don't really do that here because, again, you don't need to hear from me. Because what am I going to offer? Well, first of all, what am I going to say that's different from what you're already hearing? And second of all, I don't want to talk about bad stuff. I don't. Yeah, these videos really were meant to be way back when the New Year's resolution to see if I could do this. But they're meant to be something fun, something uplifting, something, to try and at least bring a smile, even if only for a little bit. But this was something I really couldn't ignore. Because, I practically live in an era, we practically live in an era that lately more and more has been defined by several things that, again, don't really need to be brought up here. I mean, we're living through a pandemic. The state of our government is absolutely bonkers. And with regards to what's happened in the last several days, there was another mass school shooting. And for my particular area, this is the second known major shooting that's been talked about in the last 2 weeks. There was a shooting up at the Top supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and now there's the one in Texas. Listen, this isn't a video saying, we shouldn't, we should protect our rights or gun control, any of that. Rather than, this is meant to be a video of perspective. Because, as some of you at this point already know, I once made that mistake of saying, I'm going to kill you to someone, and it wound up getting me into a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble that, to this day, mentally, I'm still paying for. Via regret, bad memories, what have you. And sometimes to this day, I still kind of ask myself why, after what only I just said, did I get in trouble when I've heard lots of other people say it and, they didn't get in trouble at all. And really it was just because of the timing and circumstances. Because when people would say it, it was either in the privacy of among friends, or I guess they probably thought it out loud or what have you, or nothing major had happened then. Unfortunately, I made the fatal error of, doing it a while after probably the worst shooting in history, which is the Columbine shooting. And I mean, it's not that I didn't see it before. Something, the whole cause and effect thing where one act happens and then, it sets a precedent for down the line. I mean, if anything, it recently just happened a couple days ago. I mean, you have the mass school shooting down in Texas, and someone from my area actually got arrested trying to bring for bringing a loaded handgun onto a plane. I mean, again, it really doesn't set any sort of good light on, what our country originally stood for. And again, this is no gun control video or anything like that. But it really is going to show that these things really can't happen when you least expect them. Up until, what happened in Buffalo, I was just going about my merry way. I mean, it's all the way in Buffalo, New York, and I live, in Myra and Corning. That doesn't bother me. I'm not going to know about it unless you hear it on the news. And I think that's really, people make fun of the news a lot, and I get that. I mean, I've made fun of the news just because of how boring it is. But there's a reason why, now we've developed the, technology and resources to watch the news 24 hours a day. And not just for news, but for other stuff like weather and stuff. People need to know about these sorts of things. If you're planning on something, or, maybe you're worried about something, or, what have you. We really did need these sorts of things, even if they are blown to proportion a lot of the time. And believe me, the whole can of worms of, CNN, Fox News, I'm not going to do that. I'm not remotely enough of an expert to really try, kicking that hornet's nest. Although, if anyone is wondering, and I have said this before, I really do identify as a Republican, but again, you're not going to see me, going to a Trump rally. You're not going to see me, being loud and obnoxious or whatever stereotypes that, Republicans are. You're not going to see that here. I don't want to talk about it here. I just want to be a good guy to entertain people, and that's really about it. And you would think that's all the internet would need. I mean, yeah, thousands of people online are doing what I'm doing, making these videos. Maybe not to the extent that I am, but they're providing entertainment. And we really could use entertainment. I mean, yes, sharing your feelings, having a good cry, those are always a good, that's always a good idea. And believe me, you can talk to lots of important people in your life about these sorts of things. And, it can be comforting when you do. I mean, sometimes I'm not sure about something regarding whatever's happened. I talk to my mom and dad. That makes sense to do. I mean, they're not really experts either, but, at least I can trust my folks. I mean, they're good people. And that's actually one thing that we as a society tend to forget. People really are inherently good. We are. From the minute we are born, we don't know anything. Like, the only things that we do know going in are emotions like love, sadness, joy, fear, anger. The only emotion that you legitimately learn is hatred. And, it can come from anywhere. It could come from witnessing something that bothered you so much you can't help but ignore it. It really could come from an environment that a person grew up in. Or whatever. But I'm willing to bet that somewhere along the line, between everything that's happened, all these mass shootings, disasters, what have you, we tend to forget that. And that's kind of what saddens me. Because whenever you have, a shooting down in what happened in Texas, or even the Columbine shooting that happened way back in the beginning of the millennium, actually I think it was like 1999, I think is when it happened, but regardless, there are two different time periods, but they're cut from the same cloth. And it always makes me ask the question, why? Like, where do people get the means to perform these horrible acts? Why would anyone, what would cause, someone to do this? Were they really pushed through the breaking point? Was it maybe because of where they grew up? Honestly, some people are going to be so dedicated to finding the answers that eventually we do find the answers, whether we want to know or not. But honestly, I don't want to be one of those guys who does that. I'd rather just be, again, doing exactly what I'm doing. Just making, a video every day, maybe about my day, maybe about something I like, maybe about something I saw, whatever. Something that, is at least entertaining enough to provide some form of enjoyment or fun, even if it's only for a little while. Because I really do feel like seriously, of all the things I do, listen, I could say that I know lots of different things about lots of different things, whether it's true or not. But there's only one thing I've ever really felt confident in saying. And that is, I know what human emotions are. I know they are what make us human. And I know that there's lots of people, you can talk to regardless. I've shared this before, but I am seeing a therapist. And, one thing I've learned is that emotions don't ask for permission. None of them do, good or bad. Of course, normally when people say that, they're referring to what I have is like depression, but still the same. I know that it's the right thing to just know that what we do as people, it's what makes us human, both good and bad. And yeah, maybe I could just be spouting whatever, like I don't know what I'm talking about. To be honest, I don't know what I'm talking about. But at least everything I've said so far felt right to say. Just like waiting for my mom to come home from work felt right to do. Full disclosure, the reason why I waited for my mom was because I wanted to tell her that I love her. No particular reason. I just wanted to tell my mom I love her. Well, I shouldn't say that. The reason why is because with everything that's gone on, I really do feel like the important thing is, calling or spending time with your mom and your dad or your loved ones, siblings, aunt, uncle, grandparents, whatever. And at some point, just tell them that you love them. Just do that. And you'd be surprised how better you'll feel. That's no goofy yet, sponsoring outro here. Although I am still very humbled that I made this video for you guys to see, even though it may not be what you're looking for. I mean, to be honest, I really wanted to talk about the fact that Hot Ones is making its return with Post Malone. But this had to be taken care of. I am very hopeful that you do have a wonderful day. I mean, seriously, we are living in crazy times when I hear that, there are parents who are legitimately terrified of dropping their children off to school. I hope it's easy for me to say that I hope what happened in Texas never happens again, but I can't make that prediction. I can only hope. And I hope that at the very least we all have a wonderful day. And, I keep saying, if you want to talk to me, yes, but for whatever reason, if I'm not available, talk to someone, You'd be surprised what another person's perspective is. And you'd be surprised how much better you'll feel just by hearing something from someone that you know and love. Make good choices, everyone.